Hello and welcome to In the Kitchen with Mimi. Today I'm going to be making baby lima beans, and these are actually going to be frozen. The Instant Pot that I'm using is an 8-quart Duo Evo Plus, and it's brand new to me. This is about the second or third time that I've used it. I've made these baby lima beans before in another Instant Pot and absolutely love them. It's one of my favorite dishes. As a matter of fact, I crave these, and when I make them, I make a lot of them and just eat them and eat them and eat them until they're all gone. Um, it's very odd because lima beans has never been one of my favorite things. As a matter of fact, it's probably one of my least favorite things. But I did come upon baby lima beans at one point and found out that they were a little more tolerable. And now that I've got this recipe, it's just the perfect recipe. And like I said, I've even gotten to where I crave them. So we'll start out. I usually almost always start out by giving my pot a little spray of olive oil. And I do this so that if anything sticks, it just makes life a lot easier. So we're just going to spray, and I'm towards the bottom of my can. I'm going to take this up and spray it straight up so that it goes into the pot a little better. All right, so I just sprayed the bottom of the pot just a little bit and around the edges, around the sides. And then I have, the recipe calls for 28 to 30 ounces of fresh frozen baby lima beans. The ones that I have are Picked Sweet Farms baby lima beans, and they're frozen, but it's 48 ounces, it's 3 pounds. And that's a little more than what the recipe calls for. So I'll just adjust my seasonings and everything a little bit on that. And go ahead and get that opened up, and we will get that in the pot. Just put them, and like I said, they are frozen, a little bit of ice on them. And then just spread them around just a little bit. And then we're going to put at least 3 cups of water, really just enough to cover right up to the top of the beans. And it doesn't really take much. It's just floating on the top there. The water, we don't have to add too much. Okay, so if you're doing the 28 to 30 ounces, 3 cups of water is what the recipe calls for. I used a little bit more because we're doing 48 ounces. Now, the next thing that we're going to put in is a ½ teaspoon of black pepper, and I'm just using what we would use on the table, black pepper here, and this is a ½ teaspoon. I'm going to put that in, just going to sprinkle it around. I'm going to put just a little bit more because we are using more beans. Okay. All right, so there's the black pepper. Then we want 1 teaspoon of salt. And I will tell you that on this, I'm not going to put too much salt in this. I'll do the teaspoon, but it's always easier to salt after than it is to take that salt away. So I'm only going to do a teaspoon of the salt. All right, there's that. And then 1 bay leaf. Now, let me talk to you a little bit about bay leaves. Bay leaves come in various sizes. My favorite bay leaves to use are an organic bay leaf that, believe it or not, I get from Walmart. And the bay leaf is probably about that big. The bay leaves that I have today, because I couldn't get those, are a McCormick brand, and my family has used these forever and ever. But I'm going to go ahead and use a couple of these because these are very, very small. So you just kind of take it into consideration what you're using and how flavorful they may smell. They have kind of an aroma to them. If they don't use them, they're not going to help you at all. But they do have a little bit, almost a eucalyptus smell. So there's one that's a little bit bigger. I'm actually going to use a couple of these, or maybe 2 or 3, because they're kind of crumbled up. And that's one of the bad things about getting them in a jar like this, is they are crumbled. They're not supposed to be, they're supposed to be whole, but you know, in processing, packaging and everything, those will get a little crumbled. And then I'm going to stir that a little bit. These are frozen, so stir that just a little bit to make sure that everything is moving around in there. And when you serve your beans, you do want to take that bay leaf out. So, all right, so we've got that. Make sure that it is covered. And the last thing that I'm going to put in, the recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm using a little bit more, again, because we've used more butter beans. But we just put that right on the top. You don't have to use it melted, anything like that. And I'm using Kerrygold pure Irish butter. I use this because it has less water content in it than the American made butters. I like to use something that comes out of Ireland or somewhere outside of the United States. And this is a product of Ireland. So, all right, and then we're going to put the lid on. Now on this Instant Pot, this is, like I said, the Duo Evo Plus. On this Instant Pot, we don't have to worry about the pressure release valve. It's already set. The only thing that I have noticed on this pot is that it's a little difficult to get that lid squarely in before you turn it. It lets us know it's on. And there's our lid turned. And we're going to cook this. Even though we have more beans in it, we're still going to cook it for the recommended amount of time in the recipe. It says lock the lid, close of it, and set the manual time for 7 minutes on high pressure.